Following what Christine said, many problem-solving meetings are ineffective because they fail to follow an organized procedure. It's very important that you follow some sort of organization or some sort of procedure to help you be effective in your project or presentation or meeting, anything you got to do. The point of our presentation will be to tell you about the 6 steps adapted from Dewey's classic reflective thinking process so you can organize any future problem-solving meetings accordingly. The first step is defining the problem. That's crucial in this because people tend to assume they're on the same page as everybody else with what the problem is, what the issue is that they're going to be researching and presenting on, but some people can be like a little bit off from what the actual problem is, or they may think that they're on the same page as everybody else when they're not, so it's really important to define the problem. Just state out loud what the problem is to the whole group before you start researching or anything like that. Then researching and analyzing the problem is the second step, and you complete this step by listing all the topics that need to be researched and discussed, and then you start researching and discussing them. And then, okay. Next is step 3, which is establishing a checklist of criteria. It's basically the checklist of requirements that a possible solution must meet in order to be selected by your group. When working with people, you guys all need to usually agree on something, and that's pretty important to that. Step 4 would be to list all the possible alternatives with your group using methods such as brainstorming or the nominal group technique, both very effective. Step 5 is evaluating each alternative. So using the list of alternatives you and your group came up with in step 4, everybody is going to begin eliminating the ones they don't think quite meet the criteria listed back in step number 3, which is why that step is important. You can see they all kind of line up with each other and work well. And then finally, we have step 6, which is selecting the best alternative. It's the final decision can be made using one of a few methods: a consensus, which is where everybody in the group agrees as a whole on the outcome, or a compromise, which no one completely wins with, but either way works, especially if you're on a time crunch and you can't quite get everybody to agree on the final step or the final alternative in time. A few tips and tricks you can use to help you remember Dewey's 6 steps are: ensure that you and your group are able to communicate well, or the 6 steps will be very difficult to follow, because if your group can't get along and everybody's either arguing with each other, or you have the 2 people in your group who know each other really well and they're constantly bickering or talking or whatever, and then the rest of the group is just kind of, neutral people, it's probably not going to balance out well or anything like that. Just make sure that everybody can get along the best they can, and there shouldn't be any issues using the 6 steps. And then remember the abbreviation DREAS, which would be D, define the problem; R, research and analyze the problem; E, establish a checklist of criteria; A, list all possible alternatives; E, evaluate each alternative; and S, select the best alternative. And all right, there you have it.